Tonight, a federal judge arrested in a massive trafficking operation. 450 children rescued.
4:52 a.m. Minneapolis was frozen and silent. Frost-coated abandoned warehouses along Cedar Riverside. Nothing in the pre-dawn darkness suggested trouble. But federal agents had been watching for 11 months. Unmarked black SUVs rolled through intersections without headlights. FBI, DEA, ICE, U.S. Marshals. Over 240 agents converging on 18 locations simultaneously across the Twin Cities metro area. This wasn't an immigration sweep. This was the culmination of Operation Shadow Fortress, a joint task force investigation linking Minnesota fraud networks to international narco-trafficking operations with direct ties to Venezuela's Maduro regime. What they found would expose the largest corruption scandal in Minnesota history. If you want the full truth, hit like so this story reaches more people. The investigation began 347 days earlier. An encrypted phone seized during a routine DEA bust in Houston. Inside the phone, 2,847 messages, wire transfer confirmations, shipping manifests, GPS coordinates, and one name repeated 63 times: Minneapolis. Special Agent Marcus Holloway stared at the data. The amounts didn't make sense. $81.3 million transferred through Minnesota accounts in 90 days. Shell companies registered to addresses that didn't exist. The Houston bust had been small, 3 kilograms of fentanyl, standard street-level distribution. But the phone told a different story. This wasn't street crime. This was infrastructure. Federal analysts traced the money backward, through banks in Miami, shell corporations in Delaware, offshore accounts in Panama. Every trail pointed north, to Minnesota, more specifically, to Cedar Riverside, the largest Somali community outside East Africa. A neighborhood federal investigators would later describe as operationally compromised. The deeper agents dug, the clearer the picture became. Feeding our future fraud. $250 million stolen from pandemic child nutrition program. That was the public story, the one making headlines since 2022. But Operation Shadow Fortress uncovered something darker. The fraud money wasn't being spent on luxury cars and mansions. It was being laundered, moved offshore, then returned through encrypted cryptocurrency channels, and used to finance something far worse. Comment exposed below if you're ready for what comes next. March 2025, the FBI established a covert command post in an office building overlooking Lake Street. 12 agents, round-the-clock surveillance, every phone tapped, every transaction monitored. They watched money move in patterns. $50,000 withdrawn in cash, deposited at currency exchanges, wired to accounts in Caracas, then routed back through Miami banks within 72 hours. Classic money laundering. But the volume was staggering, $4.7 million per week. Agent Holloway assembled a case file 200 pages thick. Bank records, surveillance photos, intercepted communications, testimonies from confidential informants. One name appeared in 89 separate transactions. Judge Layla Mahad, a Hennepin County District Court judge, respected, connected, trusted, and, according to federal wiretaps, deeply compromised. Transcripts showed her approving paperwork for organizations under investigation, dismissing charges against suspects with cartel connections, expediting visas for individuals flagged by DEA databases. In one recorded call, she used a phrase that made investigators freeze. The shipment clears Friday. Venezuelan route confirmed. This wasn't judicial corruption. This was operational coordination. The order came at 4:18 a.m. on December 6, 2025. Execute warrants. Secure all targets. Zero media leak. 240 agents mobilized across 18 locations. Judges' offices, community centers, import-export businesses, residential properties in Adena and Wayzata. The Minnesota frost hadn't lifted when battering rams struck the first doors. Cedar Riverside erupted in chaos. Flashbangs echoed between apartment complexes. K-9 units swept through buildings 3 stories high. Federal agents in tactical gear moved with precision. No shouting, no warning shots, room by room. At Judge Mahad's downtown office, the door exploded inward at 5:18 a.m. Glass shattered across marble floors. The American flag beside her desk swayed. An oath sworn, now broken. Agents found her at her desk, calm, almost expecting them. Hit like, if you believe no one is above the law. The evidence was hidden in plain sight. Behind the wood paneling in her chambers, a false wall concealed a space 8 feet deep. Inside, $3.2 million in cash, stacked in vacuum-sealed bundles, denominations of $100, sequential serial numbers traced to banks in Caracas, ledgers written in code, FF for feeding our future, VS for Venezuelan shipment, CR for Cedar Riverside, and encrypted phone, 6 of them, each connected to different network. Burner devices rotated every 48 hours, but the most damning evidence was digital. A laptop containing 4,700 emails between Judge Mahad and individuals identified by DEA as cartel intermediaries. payment confirmations, shipping schedules, safe house addresses. One email dated November 14, 2025. 400 fiat packages secured. Route through MSP confirmed. Delivery by December 1st. Packages. Federal agents initially believed it referred to drugs. Fentanyl shipments through Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. They were wrong. At a warehouse on East Hennepin Avenue, agents found something far worse. The building was listed as vacant. Property records showed no activity since 2019, but heat signatures detected through thermal imaging revealed movement inside. Agents breached the entrance at 5:47 a.m. What they found stopped them cold. Type yes to see what was inside. The warehouse interior had been converted into living quarters, makeshift beds, portable toilets, a single generator providing power, and 450 children, ages 6 to 16, predominantly East African, some Central American, all without legal guardians present. No identification document, no passports, no birth certificate. They had been trafficked into Minnesota through a network spanning 3 continents. Some had been reported missing from refugee camps in Somali. Others had disappeared from border detention facilities in Texas. Many had simply vanished from Minneapolis neighborhoods over 18 months. Federal agents found intake log, children categorized by age, gender, language, assigned ID numbers, listed with monetary values, $15,000 for children under 10, $25,000 for teenagers. This wasn't immigration fraud. This was human trafficking on an industrial scale. The operation spanned far beyond Minnesota. As agents arrested suspects and seized evidence, a network emerged. Maduro regime officials provided diplomatic cover. Venezuelan passports issued to traffickers, cartel routes through Colombia and Mexico, smuggling corridors into Texas, then transportation north. Minneapolis had become a hub, central location, large immigrant community, understaffed law enforcement, and according to intercepted communications, sympathetic officials. Judge Mahad wasn't the only one compromised. Federal indictments revealed 26 individuals with law enforcement or government positions, police officers who ignored reports, social workers who falsified documents, immigration lawyers who expedited paperwork, each paid between $50,000 and $200,000 per year. The system functioned with terrifying efficiency. Comment justice. If this makes you angry, the children rescued from the warehouse were placed in federal protective custody. Medical exams revealed malnutrition, untreated injuries, psychological trauma. Interviews took weeks. Many spoke little English. Some refused to speak at all. Trauma counselors worked around the clock. Slowly, stories emerged. A 12-year-old boy from Somalia described being taken from a refugee camp, promised education in America, flown to Caracas, then Mexico City, then across the Texas border. He spent 3 months in the Minneapolis warehouse, forced to work in packaging facility, assembling products for shipment. No pay, no contact with family. A 14-year-old girl from Guatemala explained how recruiters approached her family, offered transport to America, jobs, safety. Her parents paid $8,000. She never saw them again. She arrived in Minneapolis in July 2025, held in rotating locations, moved every 2 weeks. Always warehouses, always locked doors. The stories were identical. Promises, transport, confinement, exploitation. This wasn't immigration. This was slavery. Federal investigators traced the financial network backward. Every payment, every transfer, every offshore account. The money originated from pandemic fraud, Feeding Our Future, child nutrition program, daycare assistance, housing vouchers, over $250 million stolen from federal programs designed to help children, then laundered through international network, returned as cryptocurrency, used to finance trafficking operations. The fraud funded the trafficking generated more cash. The cash flowed back into legitimate businesses, a perfect cycle. And at the center, Venezuelan cartel intermediaries coordinating shipment, Maduro regime officials providing protection, Minneapolis insiders ensuring operations continued undisturbed. Federal prosecutors called it the most sophisticated criminal enterprise ever documented in the Upper Midwest. Share this so more people understand what's happening. The raids netted 127 arrests across 9 states: Minnesota, Texas, Florida, California, New York. Suspects included 26 government officials and law enforcement personnel, 41 individuals connected to trafficking operations, 33 money launderers and financial facilitators, 19 cartel intermediaries with Venezuelan connections, 8 import-export business owners. Assets seized totaled $347 million. Cash, properties, vehicles, businesses, cryptocurrency wallets. But the human cost couldn't be calculated. 450 children rescued in Minnesota. Another 284 recovered in coordinated operations across the country. Some reunited with families, many placed in foster care. all facing years of trauma recovery. Communities devastated, trust in institutions shattered, neighborhoods left questioning who they could believe. Judge Mahad appeared in federal court on December 10, 2025, charged with racketeering, money laundering, conspiracy to commit human trafficking, obstruction of justice. She showed no emotion, declined to speak, posted $5 million bail through an attorney whose fees came from an offshore account. Her trial is scheduled for March 2026. Federal prosecutors are seeking life imprisonment. The case exposed fractures in systems designed to protect. Background checks that missed red flags, oversight committees that never investigated, audits that somehow always came back clean. For years, Judge Mahad had been living a double life, public servant by day, cartel coordinator by night, and she wasn't alone. The investigation revealed a network of compromised officials spanning multiple states, each recruited carefully, each paid handsomely, each insulated from suspicion by their positions. When judges break the law, who enforces it? When police facilitate trafficking, who protects the innocent? Comment your thoughts below. The Minneapolis case sent shockwaves through federal law enforcement. If it could happen in Minnesota, it could happen anywhere. The FBI launched parallel investigations in 14 other cities: Chicago, Detroit, Seattle, Phoenix, cities with large immigrant populations, cities with documented fraud, cities where corruption might be hiding in plain sight. Because Operation Shadow Fortress revealed something terrifying. The infrastructure already exists. Fraud networks steal federal funds. Cartels provide international logistics. Corrupt officials ensure protection. And the vulnerable pay the price. 450 children recovered in Minneapolis. But federal estimates suggest thousands more remain missing nationwide. Children disappeared into systems designed to help them, exploited by networks designed to profit from their suffering. The Maduro connection added a geopolitical dimension. Venezuelan officials providing diplomatic cover for trafficking operations on American soil. Cartel routes refined over decades. Expertise in smuggling drugs applied to smuggling people, and American insiders making it possible. Federal prosecutors described it as narco-trafficking evolved, not just moving product, moving people, exploiting vulnerabilities, corrupting institutions. The scale was unprecedented. Hit subscribe so you don't miss updates on this case. On January 8, 2026, ICE conducted a secondary operation in Minneapolis, targeting locations missed in the December raids. An estimated 2,000 federal agents deployed to the Twin Cities. During the operation, an ICE agent fatally shot Renee Good, a 37-year-old woman, during an enforcement action. The shooting sparked protests, investigations, national scrutiny. The incident highlighted tensions simmering since Operation Shadow Fortress. Communities feeling targeted, federal agencies defending their actions, trust eroding on both sides. Agent Holloway, the lead investigator, reflected in a press conference. "We rescued 450 children. We dismantled a trafficking network. We arrested corrupt officials. And still, communities see us as the enemy." The complexity was undeniable. Yes, fraud occurred. Yes, trafficking happened. Yes, officials were compromised. But the enforcement operations also swept up families with no connection to criminal networks, separated parents from children, created fear in communities already traumatized. The line between justice and oppression blurred, and in that gray space, trust disintegrated. The children rescued remain in federal custody, some awaiting deportation hearings, others seeking asylum, many in legal limbo. Their futures uncertain. Federal victim assistance programs are overwhelmed, counselors stretched thin, resources inadequate for the scale of trauma. These children survived trafficking. Now they face bureaucracy. The system that failed to protect them now struggles to help them. Type "protect" if you believe children deserve better. The Feeding Our Future fraud case continues through courts. Over 70 individuals charged, trials scheduled through 2027. The amount staggered investigators. $250 million stolen from child nutrition programs. Money meant to feed hungry children during a pandemic, instead funding international criminal operations. The betrayal cut deep. Community leaders who championed nutrition programs revealed as fraudsters. Nonprofits designed to help children used as money laundering fronts. Every stolen dollar represented a meal not served, a child not fed, a family not helped. And that money financed trafficking, exploitation, suffering. The connection between fraud and trafficking exposed a brutal truth. Vulnerable populations are profitable. Steal from programs designed to help children. Use that money to traffic children. Profit from their suffering twice. The cruelty was systematic. Judge Mahad's case became a symbol, a trusted official, a gatekeeper in the justice system, sworn to protect. Instead, facilitating harm. Her chambers, where justice should have been dispensed, hid $3.2 million in cartel cash. Her rulings, which should have upheld law, instead enabled criminals. Her position, which should have represented integrity, became a tool for exploitation. The damage spread through communities like poison. If a judge can't be trusted, who can? Share this video before it's buried. Federal investigators continue following leads. The network extended beyond what Operation Shadow Fortress exposed. Financial trails lead to accounts in 17 countries. Encrypted communications suggest additional trafficking routes through Canada. Intercepted messages reference operations in Europe. This wasn't a Minnesota problem. This was a global network with a Minnesota hub. And dismantling one hub doesn't destroy the network. Agent Holloway's team estimates they've exposed 40% of the operation. The rest remains hidden. New routes being established, new officials being recruited, new children at risk. The fight is far from over. Federal funding for human trafficking investigations remains limited. Task forces understaffed. Resources spread thin across competing priorities. Meanwhile, cartels adapt. Networks evolve. Vulnerabilities are exploited. For every official arrested, 2 more might be compromised. For every child rescued, 10 more disappear. The math is brutal. This is only the beginning. The Minneapolis case proved that corruption reaches further than most Americans want to believe. That systems designed to protect can be weaponized to harm. That trust in institutions isn't guaranteed. It proved that vigilance matters, that investigations take time, that justice, when it comes slowly. 450 children rescued, 127 arrested, 347 million seized. Those are victories, but thousands more children remain missing. Hundreds more officials might be compromised. Billions more dollars could be moving through networks still operating. The war continues. Hit like if you believe justice is worth fighting for. The children in federal custody face uncertain futures, legal battles, trauma recovery, integration into a society that failed to protect them. Many will carry these scars forever. Trust shattered, innocence stolen, years lost. The system owes them more than rescue. It owes them healing, safety, futures. Whether that debt will be paid remains uncertain. Communities in Minneapolis grapple with dual realities: pride in exposing corruption, shame that it happened here, anger at betrayal, fear of enforcement overreach. The complexity resists simple narrative. Yes, criminals must face justice. Yes, children must be protected. Yes, systems must be reformed. But enforcement must be balanced with humanity, justice with compassion, security with liberty. The path forward requires both accountability and understanding. Federal prosecutors promise more indictments, more arrests, more asset seizures. The investigation continues. If this shocks you, comment accountability below. Operation Shadow Fortress revealed what happens when systems fail, when oversight disappears, when corruption goes unchecked. It showed how fraud enables trafficking, how money buys protection, how vulnerable populations become commodities. It exposed the darkest intersections of crime: financial fraud, human trafficking, institutional corruption, international cartels. And it proved that even in America, even in Minnesota, these horrors can thrive. The question now is, what happens next? Will systems be reformed? Will oversight improve? Will resources be allocated? Or will the outrage fade? Will attention drift? Will the cycle continue? The answer depends on people demanding better, communities staying vigilant, officials choosing integrity. The answer depends on you. Subscribe to this channel for continued coverage. Share this story so others understand the stakes. Comment your thoughts below. The fight against trafficking requires awareness, resources, political will. It requires ordinary people refusing to look away. 450 children were rescued because investigators refused to give up, because evidence was followed, because justice mattered more than convenience. More children wait for that same commitment. The story isn't over. The trials continue through 2027. The investigations expand globally. The children heal slowly. Justice moves forward, but it needs help. Your awareness matters. Your voice matters. Your demands for accountability matter. Don't let this story disappear. The networks exposed in Minneapolis operate nationwide. The fraud schemes continue. The trafficking routes adapt. But exposure creates vulnerability. Public scrutiny forces action. Awareness generates political pressure. Your engagement with this story contributes to that pressure. Every like tells algorithms to spread this further. Every comment signals people care. Every share reaches someone who needs to know. So, hit like, comment justice, share widely, because 450 children were rescued and thousands more are waiting.